you're likely doing shit right now in your operation that if you cut it out, nobody would give a fuck. Yeah. So most business owners will get caught in the scaling trough where when they start to see the ROAS dip from the true ROAS numbers and stats across the funnel that make up the ROAS start to present themselves, they'll stop scaling and they'll revert back and contract to what they were previously spending prior.
This is the fucking checklist, and if you don't like it, you don't work with us, you know?
No offense, like how you are now. I just hated it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another business breakdown video. These are super fun to do. We go through, in today's case, Jonathan's business, and we'll learn all the things that he's currently doing. We'll find a lot about what's currently holding him back, and hopefully we'll send him on his way with a scaling plan that he can go in action to try to get richer. Jonathan, you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks for having me on, Jeremy. Yeah. My name is Jonathan Maxim, founder and CEO of Viral App Launch. We have a program that does 10,000 users and 20 investor introductions for tech startups. So we're mostly working with either investor-backed startups with the mill. That's like our primary qualification. And then secondary lower ticket qualification is they got, 2 to 6K monthly marketing budget. These guys are the bootstrappers, and pretty much similar programs. It's just done for you as the high ticket, done with you as a mid ticket, and DIY as courses. So we got all three. We're really only pushing the top two right now. We haven't perfected the course funnels yet. Working on that, working on a downsell funnel for that. It's actually going to launch this week. But yeah, in total, we've launched about 370 apps at this point. I've worked with TikTok and Triller and a bunch of these bigger ones. So I got some good case studies, some good proof. And so yeah, that's pretty much the layout. We're doing about 200K a month right now. Our top was 267 a few months ago. And that exposed some cracks in the system. So now we've gone through and patched those, and now we're hitting the gas again. Systems are quite stable. Revenue is solid, and it feels like there's a floor now. It doesn't feel like the floor is going to fall out. And then we got, I think that's pretty much a good snapshot.
Sounds good. What are you netting out of this 200K a month right now?
It comes out to about 60K a month.
Nice. So like 30-ish% then?
Yeah, about 30%.
Okay.
I reinvest, as much as I can. That's the primary goal right now, but.
Got it.
You've
been going sideways for how long?
Well, we topped out in April, and then we had a bad month the month after, and then we've been sideways for about 3 months.
Got it. When did you launch this business?
3.5 years ago, January of 23. Sorry, March of 23.
Something that's become like more serious for you in the most recent period of time, or is it just literally taking that amount of time to get to 200K a month?
No, I mean, speaking humbly, that's what it took. I've been pushing, but I think, there was some unlocks from your content, definitely helped us add some to the top line. And, I think I overinvested in systems a bit. I got a big staff, over 25 people, and got a lot of systems and procedures and, QAs and things like that built in so we can build this thing for scale. So there's no reason we have capacity to go much larger.
Got it. Makes sense. Would you consider yourself a great salesperson?
Yes.
Would you consider yourself a great marketer?
Yes.
Okay. Why is all your focus been on operations then?
It's a good question. I think the team, fussing about little things, clients being unhappy with performance issues if we miss things, for example, producing bad creative, for example, would be something that leads to bad performance for the client, leads to unhappy situations. So then I go and build, better SOP and playbook for.
Okay, sounds good. What's the AOV right now of each cash collected per deal that you close on average right now?
Yeah, done for yous is about 20K AOV. It's a three-month PIF.
And again, you're actually cash collecting 20K on average when you close a deal?
Yeah, on the front end.
Okay, understood. Done with you?
Yeah, about 50% of the revenue comes from done for you, and about 50% from done with you. Done with you, average cash is 6K on the front end, and then 2K a month.
Say it again?
6K on the front end and 2K a month.
Front end is how long?
Just a month. It's a month. The first month you pay a setup fee, and then after that, it's a maintenance budget of 2K a month.
How many people you got on that?
On that program, I think
you closed 370 total clients, you said.
Well, that's total lifetime. Right now, I think we have about 80 active clients, and we have about 45 of them are on Done With You, and the rest are on Done For You.
So that means 45 people paid 6K up front, 45 people are still paying 2K a month.
Yeah.
Got it. And then the do-it-yourself, you're talking about that in the sense of this is just a course, you haven't really gotten this off the ground yet?
Yeah.
How much is that?
did $1,000 in sales in that last week. So it's usually zero though. Like we haven't really been pushing it.
What's the price of it?
We have the ASO course for $500. We have the app launch course for $1,000, and we have capital raising course for $2,000.
Okay. Those are all front end offers?
Yeah. But I mean, we haven't really put them into a funnel to service them in that way. Right now, they've just been used as downsells.
What's the leading offer then?
The leading offer is 10,000 users, and that's the done for you and the done with you option. If they raise
So
capital,
the done with you and the do it yourself option, you're talking in the sense of the do it yourself option or drop sales.
yeah.
Is the done with you a drop sell, or do you front end the done with you as well?
No, we front end the done with you. We make like 70% margin on that versus the done for you is only like 30%. So we prefer to sell done with you because it's like a coaching format. We got a mastermind, weekly mastermind with me, a weekly office hours call, and then a course, and then we run their ads for them.
Are there any upsells after somebody buys the done for you or the done with you other than the 2K a month?
Yeah, if they're doing done for you, if they buy our entry level offer, we'll upsell them to the next level if they want to, get multiple funnels going, things like that. If they're doing done with you, they often will, move from, they can buy additional services like more creative, more videos, things like that. But it's not a big piece of the business. Most of the back end revenue comes from retainers.
Got it. There's one thing that works really well. You might want to consider this. Export your total customers. So in your case, if you have 370 lifetime total customers that have given you money, and try to just run a simple report of how many of those people have given you money at least twice. And that way you can get an idea of the total percentage of folks that are transacting with you more than once.
Okay.
And what it exposes is how well you're getting a second transaction, whether that be an additional month out of a person who's going from the 6K to the 2K a month, or taking somebody from a done for you to a higher level of the done for you, or just some other continuity or ascension offer. And it'll reveal, usually the percentage for most business owners, when they finally see it and look it in the eyes for the first time, it'll reveal to them where their actual flaw is, and it'll expose whether you have a really good dialed in system. I'll give you a great example of this. A majority, meaning more than half of the total customers that I've ever generated had given me money more than once. And when I look at that specific number, that lets me know, and this could come just to give you some examples here of customer flow. Somebody might buy a $750 Jeremy's Masterclass, and then they might go buy another one.
Yeah.
Or they might buy a $750 Jeremy's Masterclass and then go buy Jeremy AI. Or somebody might sign up for Jeremy AI and then pay us again. Or somebody might go from Jeremy AI to Jeremy's Inner Circle. Or somebody might go from Jeremy's Inner Circle to paying for whatever amount of time they pay. And it's really cool with what you can do with AI nowadays, specifically with that. You can, again, run the broader report of just total customers that have paid you more than once and then map it to a percentage. Ideally, it's more than half, okay?
Yeah,
it's a great business if you get people
that
that pay you more than half.
On your recommendation, it was 43% at the time. I think this past month it was 50%. So people coming back and making another payment.
Okay, the secondary level to that same report is to then have it extrapolate what are the specific customer paths mapped to a percentage of how many people take that particular path.
Yeah.
So as an example, if I get somebody that signs up for Jeremy's Inner Circle, is the highest path of the most revenue that comes per customer is the simplest path, which is somebody signs up and then they just pay more months and they stay on that specific offer. That's likely to be your most dominant path too, with your 2K a month people. So your most dominant path is likely people going from 6K upfront to 2K a month in perpetuity.
Yeah.
But to be clear, maybe that's not your most lucrative path, which is actually a really interesting thing to expose. I remember as an example, when I most recently ran this report in this last 30 days for July, the third place path was people going from a Jeremy's Masterclass to Jeremy AI. So they go from $750 to $1,000 a month. And I was thinking to myself, that's awesome. And I didn't necessarily put any effort into that specific path. And then I thought to myself, well, if I built systems, specifically marketing automation systems in this case, and alerted salespeople after somebody buys a Jeremy's Masterclass, I dove into that data a lot more is what it exposed to me in terms of what I could do to maximize it. But I also just asked it specific questions that I thought were quite intriguing. I asked it questions about how long it took on average for somebody to go from one to the other. If you load all that data, as an example, into a Claude project specifically, and you just, again, talk to the data through talking to that specific Claude project, it was really cool, the level of insights that I received from it. And then it exposed all these flaws in the system of something that was already naturally happening. And if I had a dominant path, like in your case, you likely do with it's 6K to then 2K a month, I would just question, because you're only at 200K a month. So I would just question, what could I be selling people that makes a lot more sense? All right, so this done for you component. Articulate the value prop again. How many investor intros and how many total users is the claim?
10,000 users in 6 months and 20 investor intros.
Okay, what's your success rate on that?
Off the top of my head, it was around like the 87% range. We'll hit the 10,000 user goal. They have to qualify to get the investor introductions, so that's much more rare. They have to have a profitable CAC to LTV. But yeah, it's in the 80-90% range right now. One of the issues on the client side though is they will get their 10,000 users, then they're like, now I want 10,000 paying customers. With an app, users does not equal paying customers. It's a whole funnel in itself. So that's something we're wrestling with a little bit, but I wanted to share with you that we did build a database where all of our client records, all of our Stripe payments, everything goes in there, all the team members, et cetera.
Yeah.
So I can actually ask all those cross-cut questions. So I've got good access to that data. And thinking about it, if I think about what you recommended, there's huge back-end issues from the back-end selling system to the sequence of upselling people. There's one nurturing sequence that everybody gets, and it's a book a call. So there's nothing from people who, maybe went to a webinar or watched a masterclass. There's nothing pushing them up to buy the course. We have free course offers too. You can start with 500, then 1,000, 2,000. So that's a great idea. And I think on the marketing automation side, we have 17,000 founders in our database. If we run a push to them, we could probably collect 20K cash each email we send. So there's probably a lot more headroom on the back end there for selling bolt-ons, upgrades, continuities.
Yeah, how do you market all this right now? How are you generating the clients?
It's all meta ads, yeah.
How much are you spending each month?
20K a month.
What funnel?
We have a book a call, and then on your recommendation, we made a webinar which crushed. We had 550 register, 300 showed up, and we sold 6K on the call, and then we've sold 9K on the back end. We'll probably close, I think we're gonna close 50K total.
You ran one?
Sorry?
You ran one webinar?
Yeah, we've done a few of them, but this one was like the Jeremy way,
Nice.
So condensed the ads into 3 days, built the automations that you recommended, and it crushed. People loved it.
By the way, question for you. Have you ever given me money?
I have not, no.
So you haven't actually converted on any of my offers. So when you say the Jeremy way, are you just referring to what I talk about on places like YouTube? Or nice. That's great.
Yeah, you've been generating a ton of value, which I much appreciate.
Of course, man.
I wanted to, get the sales and marketing to a stability point before I moved to I wanted to join Inner Circle,
Yeah, that'd be great for you.
Yeah, I think based on the stories I've seen so far, it's pretty inspiring,
It is. It's pretty sick what happens.
20-something-year-olds doing 1.8.
Did you see the 16-year-old kid? He turned 17 now, but did you see that kid?
No, I didn't watch that.
Give him a $1 million month trophy. There's a video in this it's from the most recent mastermind, the Q3.
What's his offer again?
He runs a trading offer. He sells a trading algorithm to people in the prop firm space specifically, and then he had broadened beyond that specific demographic. But that's what originally got him to, I think it was about $800K a month. And then he had in his mastermind talk specifically when we gave him $1 million month trophy, he talked about, which anybody who gets a trophy, they talk about what got him there and then what also held him back. And he broke down the specific story about, there's a lot of volatility. He got all the way up there to 800K. And then he had a lot of friction with the offer at that point. And then he tore it down, changed the offer, built a new offer. And it was very interesting. I was actually sitting in the back of the room. It was the first time this happened at a mastermind talk. I just sat there and I listened to him. I was smiling the whole time. I just couldn't stop laughing. It was almost as though most people have to go through a process of unlearning and then learning to really make sense of the information that they're getting exposed to. This kid, you could tell he had never had to go through an unlearning process. You could tell he was only ever exposed to the best information. Imagine your parents exclusively teaching you Napoleon Hill best practices, or having you read things like The Laws of Success, or again, at 16 years old, investing into people like me, joining my Inner Circle offer where other grown men won't do it. This fucking kid's got some nuts.
I know.
And he went through a crazy story. And anyway, the moral of the story is there's some wild stuff you see. There's some wild stuff you see in that group for sure.
Well, yeah.
A part of his talk is in that mastermind video. We do a mastermind recap every mastermind.
What's his name? I want to watch it.
Nathaniel. So if you watch specifically, we do a mastermind recap video. There's clips of each person's talk that got up there. We had 8 different people that got $1 million month trophy at the most recent one, and he was one of them. Check it out for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, anyway, so you ran one webinar, technically more than one, but the one that you did that had Jeremy's stuff, that one worked. When was that?
Last Thursday.
Okay, so very recent.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
the data was super good on the funnel. I mean, our cost per lead went from like $30 down to $7, cost per qualified lead.
Got it.
And we got 20 booked calls out of it. We probably could have got more. We sold on the call because there's two routes. If you have investors, we'd rather you to book a call. If you're bootstrap, we did an on the call offer.
So you did an onion pitch. You pitched both?
Called? Yeah.
Well, you pitched more than one thing in the webinar.
Yeah.
You said, hey, direct to checkout or book a call.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. We call it the onion pitch. When you pitch more than one thing in the webinar.
You recommend that or no?
I personally have done it, yeah. I'll pitch like upwards of 2 to 3 things in a webinar for that exact same thing. Because assumptively we have different types of people that are there. So in my demographic, I could have a guy that's sitting there doing a couple $1 million a month. I could have a guy sitting here watching that does like tens of thousands of dollars a month in comparison. It's such a wide range.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, it's like, as an example, if you ever look at any YouTube video I have and you go down and look at the links in the description, there's a handful of things, depending on when you're looking at it. As soon as the video posts, there's Jeremy's Inner Circle, which is rich people trying to get richer. There's Master Internet Marketing, which is people who are trying to train their staff, or a freelancer or an agency owner or somebody's just trying to like master digital marketing. There's Jeremy AI. We see people that work with Jeremy AI, usually they're making at least like tens of thousands a month because it's $1,000 a month. There's also lead magnets down there. So people who are either just not ready.
YouTube videos?
Correct. Every single description has those.
Damn.
And then as time passes, I have a specific guy that works over there. His whole job is just to create lead magnets. So he'll go back 1 lead magnet per day is his job. He'll look at a YouTube video, make a lead magnet for it, go back to that YouTube video and go in the description and update it or add a comment to the video that's like, here's this. And that's and by the way, there's a good bridge to one thing that you had mentioned that I think makes a lot of sense. You need to have an AI agent in the CRM working all these leads, because that's why we do that. That's why we do the contextual lead magnet thing. So whenever somebody opts in for a specific lead magnet, what do we immediately know about them? We immediately know that they're interested in that particular topic. Exactly. And we have, in most instances, many different videos or many different blogs or many different pieces of other lead magnets or just some kind of value, and we have contextual offers for those specific things that they've shown genuine interest in. So it's a way to create contextual tagging and segmentation inside of your CRM. And then the one thing that human beings, there's literally no way, I would have to hire a fleet of people to do what I'm about to describe, and I've described it in a few different videos now, is we took, and it was initially an OpenClaw agent, but then it kept failing. It just kept failing. Like literally it would just give me like failure messages on the simplest shit. And it wasn't because of some structural thing. It just sucked. We swapped to the Hermes agent. Some people call it the Hermes agent, but it's spelled the same as Hermes. So I call it the Hermes agent. Long story short, that one, I think we currently have it running through an OpenAI model. We just literally, the coolest part about switching agents is you can just take all the .md files and all the knowledge and just plug it into a different execution agent. So long story short, the Hermes agent inside of our Go High Level CRM contextually sends out a personalized email 3 to 4 times per week per user inside of our database currently. Wow. So we don't do broadcasts. We have sequences for when people go into a specific whatever it is. Yeah. However, again, 3 to 4 times a week, no matter what, based on what the person has done or based on enrichment data. Because as a contact comes in, we have that same agent go and use People Data Labs and Clay to enrich their profile further, to find things like their social profiles or upwards of like 100-something data points that we might not otherwise have. It does that successfully. Correct. We pull those in a high level through the agent. Custom fields. This is part of the agent's job as soon as a new contact record comes in. And then, like I said, it leverages, so I'm going to give you an example. It also manages the pipeline in the CRM. So the pipeline that it recommended we create was like an 8-stage pipeline all the way from like icy cold to like 1 closed or lost. And if somebody's in cold and it doesn't have any data, let's say, to contextually email the person, it just rotates topics. But if somebody's in, let's say like a warming up stage and they've officially opted into something or have started to click or open on a specific email set of topics, again, it'll follow up with them and more things. So it kind of like rabbit holes you as soon as you get into a particular topic, but then its job is also not to continue to communicate exclusively about that. We tell it in the context of synonyms to like find topics that are like similar or overlap to that specific thing. So let's use the example that somebody below this very video, let's say we clip this part of the conversation and we throw it on my clips channel, the Haynes feed. That specific video might have a lead magnet on it that teaches you about like an AI agent in your CRM. And then if somebody opts into that, the other things that person may actively be interested are all things like CRM best practices and like back-end systems. And maybe they're interested in upsells and cross-sells and things like that. So it starts to communicate to them beyond just the rabbit hole they've gone down. But what you could do This is very important considering you have a wide range of folks, is deploy an agent into the CRM. That would be a very revenue-driven action for you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not too much complexity. To be honest with you, it might sound harder in words. All you got to do is just have, like I said, an agent, give it access to everything via either the MCP and the API. You don't give it, you could give it a user ID, because I want to be fair in saying some things that you may request it to do, it won't be able to do through the API or the MCP. Oh. It may have to actually do it through logging into the actual browser and like acting as a user to do certain things. Like it can't build a marketing automation flow inside of Go high level through the API or the MCP. It can create the emails for it, but it literally has to go and like, kind of like Claude Cowork, like an agent browser, to do certain things. So, anyway, that would make a lot of sense. Now, I assume you're going to run more webinars.
Yeah. What's
the cadence that you're going to run at?
Right now, I'm scheduled for bi-weekly.
Why bi-weekly instead of weekly?
Just so I get the rhythm down, get my pitch right. Especially if I'm doing the onion pitch, then my transition was really weak on that one. So I want to strengthen my transition to sales,
But why would you wait 2 weeks and why wouldn't you just do it again the next week so you have a higher cadence?
I mean, frankly, just because I was coming here. But
okay, but I mean today, what is today, Thursday?
No, it's not.
What's today?
Tuesday.
Yeah, so what are you staying here until Thursday or something?
Till tomorrow, but yeah.
So so tomorrow being Wednesday, so that means you get home by Thursday?
Yeah.
So
no, tomorrow I get home. Tomorrow I get home.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So like you could have done it on Thursday?
Could have, yeah.
Okay, if I can make a recommendation, it doesn't matter where you are physically on Earth, you have to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be an excuse based on location, otherwise you're always going to be locked into your specific environment to be able to be productive and execute what you need to do. That would mean while you're here, your productivity drops dramatically, because how many other areas does that same mindset leach into in terms of execution activity?
Yeah, I think that's a real good point. Like, I see some guys coming in here just advertising straight to the top, like running a 1.3. We're running like a 4 or 5, sometimes it's a 12 ROAS. Yeah. And I'm like, why am I not just fucking flooring it, Yeah,
it's a great question. I mean, again, it could just be as simple as, do you have kids?
Yeah, I have a daughter.
Does that take a substantial amount of time from you?
No, I got a nanny.
Okay, do you have any other like substantial time obligations that would prevent you from otherwise
just my family.
Okay, so a weekly cadence of doing a webinar on Thursday, that would obviously benefit your family too. Like that can't be an excuse, right?
No doubt, and it would take sales calls, because I started getting back into selling, but now if I'm doing the webinar, I don't need to be on sales calls. I can...
Yeah, it's a higher leverage action to be able, it's a one-to-many sale.
10 calls in a week could be one webinar.
Yeah, and so you're saying you also are your only salesperson currently?
No, I have one lead closer who's good.
Okay.
Pretty capable on his own. So got like a $2,000 cash per call, he's solid. And then we got a SDR who's maturing into a closer right now. We're training him to close. And then I got another SDR working social leads. They can handle more capacity for sure.
What is their current capacity?
They're running like 4 or 5 calls a day for the
percentage,
closer.
0 to 100% of how full they are.
I would say Isam, my lead closer, is probably running like 70% of his capacity.
And
60%. Me?
Yeah.
I'm at like 80%.
Okay, and the setters?
Setters, they're running somewhere between like 50 and 70%, I would say. Like we could squeeze a lot more juice there, I think.
Okay. Are you hiring more?
I want to hire 1 to 2 more closers so that I can get out of sales and let one rise to the top, somebody who's good like the guy I have, and then just get out of sales and just, if I can run marketing, I can move a lot of volume. If I'm on sales calls, that's like, maybe 2 calls a day, that's 10 hours, 15 hours a week of sales and follow-up, so.
Okay, what was the ROAS on the most recent webinar? So it was like a 4 to 5 or upwards of a 20, what was it?
Well, on call it was 3X, plus we closed a 9K, that's gonna be an 18K when it's totally paid.
Cash collected.
So it's already at like 6X ROAS, but we have, calls coming up this week. I anticipate, we spent $2,000 promoting that webinar. I anticipate 30 to 50K of cash collected total. So
okay.
You're talking about like a
and
10X.
Was that more than a 10X? Was that off of warm audiences or cold audiences?
We ran it to our warm list, which got us actually the people who bought on the call, majority were current customers who wanted the bonuses, which was ironic. They already were in the program, they just wanted the bonuses. So, but yeah, the majority were cold. We started marketing on Monday. We did 3 days instead of 2 like you recommend. We just wanted to try 3.
Yeah.
Crazy show up rate, like 300 people out of 550.
Sick.
Crazy number.
Keep in mind, this is warm audience numbers though. So if you
that
primarily...
was 80% cold, that's my point.
Okay, yeah, that's great. That's great.
But we publish to YouTube, like I publish once a week to YouTube. I put out 150 videos a week on socials.
Okay, let me be clear. Warm audience webinar, ideally like once a month you run it. Cold audience webinar, run it weekly. You can get cold audience webinars specifically up to twice a week, 3 times a week. You can eventually automate it if you want. Don't automate it and make it an on-demand webinar where they can watch it anytime, known as a just-in-time webinar. Run the webinar when it's automated, like it's still scheduled at a particular time, so people set aside the time to actually show up.
Okay.
But to be clear, you have to get this cadence down. Cold webinars, weekly.
Okay.
If you can increase the frequency to twice a week, all the better.
I can.
You'll move through it faster. And exactly what you talked about, by the way, is backwards logic, where you were like, oh, I'm going to do it every other week so I can dial in my pitch. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You would dial in, it's like, hey, I want to get better at hitting a baseball. I'm going to go to the batting cages every other week, right? It's like when somebody says, well, why wouldn't you go weekly? And you're like, well, I mean, every other week would allow me to dial in my flow with the bat better. It's like, well, it doesn't make any sense. So increase the frequency, especially when it's at a 6x ROAS. And again, very important note, you need to see what the ROAS is without the warm audience there. You need to see what the stats are without the warm audience there, because those are the actual stats that you're going to optimize around.
Yeah.
You also need to spend some actual money on this thing. Don't spend $2,000 on a cold audience webinar, because mathematically it's not probable to even get a return with average webinar stats factored into it.
Yeah,
if you ran conservative stats inside of the webinar financial model as an example, you would find very quickly that it's far too little money with a conservative cost per lead, a conservative show rate, a conservative retention rate, a conservative closing rate or booking rate, a conservative show rate to those calls, a conservative close rate, a conservative AOV, you'd find 2K is probably just not enough. So mathematically, you need to spend enough to make the return worth generating when it does work, but you need to not spend too much where it doesn't financially destroy you and prevent you from running the next webinar. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay, from that same perspective, what's the book of call ROAS at?
Book of call ROAS, last 4 weeks, I just checked it earlier, it's sitting at 4.8.
Okay, what's that spending in the most recent month?
20K. If I run July.
What about the month prior?
Let me just do the numbers here. So yeah, month to date for July, we spent 21,000. For June, we spent 22,000. For May, we spent 21,000.
Why aren't you throwing your nuts on the table?
It's a great question, man. I think we could double, triple that. I mean, if 50%.
Yeah, but there's a reason you're not. Why not?
Because I think it was mainly because of sales capacity.
All right, let me be honest with you here. This is important to understand.
Can I back up a little bit real quick, Jeremy? We spent 30K in a prior month, and our ROAS just went down. We had the same number of SQLs. And so then we went through and launched a bunch of new creatives, built out a proper tracking system like ROAS. We built, ran our own. But after that, I was just a little gun shy, to be honest.
Yeah, so that's called the scaling trough. Have you ever heard of that?
Here.
Okay, so watch this. So when you go to scale and you start off at a smaller level of ad spend, you get the illusion that ROAS is your ROAS.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's not. You're at less than $1,000 a day in total ad spend right now. And your ROAS is also mixed in with warm audience members based on how you're articulating yourself here.
Yeah.
So this is important to consider. Your real ROAS has not yet been revealed for this specific offer with these specific funnels.
Yeah.
Okay? And what you've done is you have mentioned, okay, I try to kick up the spend to $1,000 a day at 30K in a month, and I saw a slight dip in ROAS. What did it dip to?
It was sitting between like 0 and 3 for like a 6-week period.
Okay, now this is important to consider. You could do a bottleneck analysis for that specific date range, and you could determine if there was something specific that was causing the contraction, because there's always a reason that it contracts.
It was a meta algo change.
Okay, and what period of time is that?
It took us a month to get out of that.
When?
That happened in that happened in April, and we paid for it in May.
Understood. Are you sure you didn't get like bot traffic or something that potentially changed?
Let me look at the metrics real quick here. Let me just get the
Because as an example, if you had like a really, really cheap CPM all of a sudden and you had an inflated link click-through rate on a specific placement, like you could go into your ads manager, you could navigate specifically to either the campaigns that we're running and then go to the ad set level, or just select those campaigns and then get everything else out of there in terms of filtering it. And then you can go to do a breakdown, and you could do a placement breakdown, and you could determine if there was a specific placement that you potentially got exploited. We had somebody around February to April, would have been around the time frame of 2026 to be clear, where we saw a pretty heightened amount of random bot traffic. But we never run on the audience network. So like our client accounts, as an example, were insulated from random bot traffic that would have originated from there.
But
we saw random, what'd you say?
We're running Advantage Plus on the performance campaigns.
Yeah, so if you run Advantage on placements specifically, then you're also running on the audience network, which 100% of the time is wasted traffic. So during that period of time, like you could look, like you could see the actual spend distribution per placement. moral of the story, we saw some specific bot traffic originating from Reels during that period of time, even more specifically Facebook Reels. So we'd occasionally cut that placement out if we saw it. But the way you determine this is, like I said, if you had a deflated CPM compared to the average and an inflated link click-through rate. And the link click-through rate historically might be like 2% is a good benchmark. You might see a link click-through rate in like the teens if you're getting botted, or like the high single digits as an example. Does anything like that come up?
Well, it was the end of, I'm looking at our reporting here, it was the end of March. It fell off a cliff in April. The performance, let me look at the CTRs and stuff. CTR was down. We sit around a 2.4 CTR normally, and it was down at 1.63. So I think that, that was right when.
So when you say algo change, would you conclude that you overcame that and it's no longer an issue?
We're out of the woods there.
Okay, so
we can hit the gas now.
It's a very interesting thing that I usually articulate this lesson to agency owners, but I articulate it as well to anybody that has clients that they have to service, which is, I say half my job is client results, like revenue production. The other half is what I call narrative management, okay? A business's narrative defines what they do and do not do. So like one of the most common things is a story, exactly what you're sitting here telling us now, Jonathan. We see people all the time that are like, oh, I spent, $30K in this period of time and I got fucked. And so therefore, like, we never do that again. And it's a protective mechanism in all human beings. Yeah. It's the logic in our evolutionary behavior of eating a berry that killed somebody and like remembering never to eat that berry again.
Yeah.
That part of your psyche will hijack your ability to go back and try something when it does make sense to try again. Like as an example, you just sat here and you said out loud, oh yeah, I could let it rip right now. And it's it's like that narrative that you historically talked about no longer overlaps as a beneficial lesson that would avoid death now. It's like technically it would actually increase your odds of death if you don't go back and start to scale. Do you understand?
Yeah, it's a great point.
Okay, so overcoming the narrative that you articulated is something to consider when you go back home and actually try to execute on this, try to overcome that. But secondly, back to the original lesson I'm trying to articulate to you, scaling trough, okay? So if you go to scale and you're at a lower level of spend and you see your ROAS start to dip, there is an unknown floor that you will eventually run into where it will not go below that floor, no matter how much more you spend into it. But you have to find the floor for it to all of a sudden make sense to plow a bunch of cash into to justify the lower ROAS. So let me be clear, if I have a 5x ROAS and I'm at 20K a month in spend, and I go to 30K a month in spend and I dip to a 3x ROAS, that doesn't make as much financial sense. But if I held the 3x ROAS and I spent $500,000 in the month, everything makes way more sense then. Do you understand? Yeah. So most business owners will get caught in the scaling trough where when they start to see the ROAS dip from the true ROAS numbers and stats across the funnel that make up the ROAS start to present themselves, they'll stop scaling and they'll revert back and contract to what they were previously spending prior.
Yeah.
And as a result, they never end up scaling. And then it becomes a part of the narrative as well that they articulate about why they no longer ever try to scale so they can maintain a particular ROAS at a lower level of spend. Yeah. If I spent $10 and I was at 100x ROAS, I would always, every single time, rather spend $500,000 at a 3x ROAS so I can make real money instead of spending $10 at 100x ROAS. Do you understand?
Yeah, that's it right there.
That's the logic here, just in an extremely exaggerated way to put it in perspective for you. So you have to find the floor, right? Which means that you need to expect to put cash into it, there'll be realistically a short period of time following the immediate scale where you do see some actual revenue contraction. And then from there forward, once you reach the floor of that ROAS, everything mathematically starts to make way more sense and you'll actually be enthusiastic about putting way more spend into it so you get out of that mathematical trough where it doesn't actually make sense. You understand?
Yeah, you nailed it, man.
Okay, so breaking the scale trough. Could be, just to also be fair to your point, a specific contraction that presented itself during that period of time. You articulate it like you overcame that issue that you experienced during that 0 to 3x ROAS period, which is great, which should signal as a trigger. Okay, do you ever heard me talk about scaling triggers?
Yeah, but feel free to dig
You need
into
a trigger. You need something specifically that tells you when it's time to scale again. And you can't prevent scale from this is the easiest way to articulate it. You have to have something that just says like, if this, then that logic. Like, okay, if we've overcome this historical issue that prevented us and like was a part of our narrative, then we're gonna go try it again, right? So when did you overcome that issue?
We overcame it in May. And
yeah, so now it's August.
Really consistent. Yeah, it's great.
So you went all of June. What period in May did you solve it? Like the end of May?
About halfway through May.
So it's been like 2.5 months then.
Yeah.
So this is important to consider, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. So essentially 2.5 months has been wasted and gone by.
Yep.
As a result of failing to just have a trigger that says like, okay, we overcame this, now we're gonna do this. Just to bring you to self-awareness, are there any other potential areas that you can just scan and analyze in the business right now that you're potentially doing the same thing, where there's something obvious that you should otherwise do, where current data contradicts a previous business narrative that's been set in stone that you've no longer tested against since?
Yeah, I think the inertia of a team, naturally, employees, they tend to want to stay in a safe zone. And every time I have broken through to a new level of the company narrative is when I hit the gas hard and scaled. Every time we doubled in revenue twice, and it was from ramping ads. So I think that's a good leading thing that can break the mindset of like, this is my comfort zone, and go into like high performance mode for the whole team. It'll demand better performance out of them. That's one thing. And then another thing I noticed is that you run a very intelligent, lean operation for your marketing operations. And I got 5 times as many staff as you working on my shit, and doing a quarter of the revenue or less or whatever it is. So
it's very common for people between 100 and 300K a month. Usually when you're in that specific revenue range, you're, whether you realize this or not, still very convinced that time and effort is what produces additional revenue. Whereas the reality of the situation is what actually produces additional revenue are revenue-driven actions that are high leverage and usually don't take a lot of time and effort. If you optimize your organization, which includes the staff that you hire or don't hire, around efficiency I heard actually originally from Elon Musk. He articulated from an engineering view where he had said, the simple goal of every role within an organization is, and just in general, how can I put as little in as possible and still get the same outcome, if not a greater outcome, if I had put this much into it to get that same outcome. So a great example of this, have you actually seen like the progression of the Raptor rocket engine? Look at this. So Raptor 1, you see all that shit on it that's not on Raptor 3?
Wow.
So listen to this. Listen.
This is us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, and just to be fair, like that used to be me too. Like in my story specifically, it was 2016 to 2017. I articulate myself as just a total dumbass around this period of time. Like I had no idea what I was really doing. I didn't even necessarily know like anything about efficiency during that period of time, or like what Elon articulates as Parkinson's law, which is the idea of constraints on what we do. That's a different lesson. But nonetheless, here's what I'm trying to articulate. Your goal should be to get more power, because this
more powerful
actually produces way more power than that. But like that's what I'm trying to articulate to you, is that looks like the version of us with a lot more time and effort, whereas this version of us is a lot less time and effort, and we get way bigger of an outcome. So like this version of me back in like 2016, 2017 would have been like 27 staff, 3 offices. I was sleeping like 4 to 6 hours a night max. I was just running around like a chicken with my head cut off all the time. If anything that came up needed done and I didn't have staff for it, I would just willfully hire for the staff without even judging if there was gonna be a high return off that specific payroll position. I'd go and hire more, I'd go in staff positions that I'm not optimizing around revenue. This would have been the equivalent of how we run today, which in your eyes is lean and my efficient and far more effective than what I was back then.
Yeah.
With a reduction in complexity and the different roles that you currently have hired, you can generally get far more out of each role that you specifically have in your organization. There's a video I did literally right before this. I don't know when it gets posted on the channel, but this is like literally what I filmed right before I filmed with Jonathan here. I had broke down how I'd hit $1 million a month in recurring revenue recently. And the very first thing I covered was team structure. Okay, and like this is my actual team. And like each one of these individual positions and what they all cost. But each one of these individual positions are all very effective, and they do the amount of work that historically I'd have to hire like 3 to 4x the amount of people to have accomplished what these people specifically accomplish in comparison. Give or take what sales is the largest variable cost out of this at 80 to 150K a month, but it comes out like 213,500 to 286,500 with sales commissions factored in on top of it. I think with just standard payroll positions, it's like low 100 some. But yeah, I mean, dude, that's pretty good compared to what I used to be at. Where I used to be at when it would have been like this, it would have been, I had, let's use the example of $300,000 a month in revenue and like more for sure than $150,000 a month in random payroll expenses. So I try to, when it comes down to like a multiple of like productivity per payroll position, I try to literally 10x. I'm close, I'm not quite there. I try to 10x what I pay versus what I get out of each individual role. Does that make sense?
Yeah, revenue per play.
So this is a visual of what I'm talking about.
Just want to ask you one quick question about this. So Did scaling hard naturally tease out that efficiency, or was it something you went in and audited?
No, it was from a very hard set of lessons of how I previously ran.
Okay.
So like I said, when I was running, no offense, like how you are now, I just hated it. I didn't like it. I articulate myself like a very well-paid babysitter.
Yeah.
I would say, like, dude, 4 to 6 hours a night was terrible. On top of that, I was a vegan at the time. I was like deathly skinny. I didn't know about like tracking macros or calories. I was in like 1,000+ caloric deficit every day. I got to a point where my body was like very high probability eating away at my organs because I didn't have any fat reserves left. Work was fucked when I finally figured out how to do that. My stress, like my cortisol now is actually really low. I'm actually at below average cortisol compared to where I would have been back then. Are you familiar with the statistic in our body called HRV, heart rate variability?
Yeah, I track it.
My HRV used to be 10 to 15. Yeah, that's
Brutal.
That's an HRV of an 80 to 90-year-old man.
How do you work like that?
Fuck if I know. Stimulants. So then if you fast forward to today, my HRV at the lowest is like 100. My peak HRV is like 150.
Damn.
Again, my cortisol, like that I do monthly, is lower than it's ever been. Not like low to the point where it's dangerous and I'm not engaged, but like, you know, lower than it's ever been. Literally based on the averages, like below average. Again, like the people that I have in my organization are all A players. That was another key lesson. I had a bunch of donkeys before, would be the equivalent of you want to get productivity out of a specific role. You tell the role what you expect and what you want them to do. Every time you need them to do something, you literally got to go beat them to do it. They do it for a very short period of time and then they fall back to their low standard after, and you have to beat them again to raise their standard. So it's like they raise their standard and they fall back down. They raise their standard and they fall back down. A players come with just exceptionally higher standards right off the bat. The culture and being around other A players, it brings an even greater level of talent out of each one of them. Without exaggerating, realistically do the work of like 3 to 5 different B or C players in your organization. So every person I have is just an A player now. Every person in my position, if you actually look, like my CFO, my lawyer, that's a fractionalized. My CFO is a fractional CFO, so it's only $5K a month. My AG guy's $10K a month. My CTO is $15K a month. My CSM, my tech CSM is $10K a month. My marketing helpers are $10 to $20K a month. My other CSM, like my regular CSM, is $8K a month. My EA here in person is $8K a month. My personal trainer is $20K a month. He's here in person with us and follows us around 12 hours a day. My driver's 7.8K. My YouTube guys are 8.5K. My sales guys are 80 to 150 a month. My blog guy's 5K, but again, that's an agency. And then I have also, by the way, I add this to the list in that specific video. I have a Athena EA, which costs 3K a month as well.
Yeah, no, Athena.
Look at my staff versus back in the day, I would try to hire people for like, 3 to 5 grand or like 6 grand. My highest payroll position back then would have been like maybe 7 or 8. And that would have been like stretching me. It would have felt like versus now it's like, if somebody comes and works for me and they don't want like 10K a month, I'm concerned. I'm like, oh, this person's probably a donkey.
Damn, okay.
And it's not just based on cost and who they are and how they are, but that in itself can bring a tremendous amount of efficiency. And then from a culture perspective, culture is shared beliefs that you push on your people all the time. Sometimes, very rarely, sometimes I'll get a new staff member that'll tell me something about, like as an example, let's take the lead magnet guy that I hired. 10K a month role. Sole job, produce 1 lead magnet every single day. And that lead magnet requires an opt-in page, the actual lead magnet, a very simple marketing automation sequence connected to it to deliver it, a very simple marketing automation sequence connected to it to deliver it. On the back end of that, we have a Jeremy AI scaling plan that if the person fills out a very long type form with like a lot of typing things, that information gets sent to Jeremy AI. Jeremy AI processes a scaling plan for the person. Every lead magnet's intended to help sell Jeremy AI and also give us a lot of enrichment data for the AI agent to use to sell them other contextual offers that might make sense for them. But the moral is shit if you produce 1 lead magnet a day or 1 lead magnet in 3 hours a day. I don't judge you off time and effort. I exclusively am hiring you to make and tee it up for me in a way where I can easily go promote it. I can easily go run ads on it. And you need to take that, you need to put it into the YouTube video that you're specifically creating it on, give it to the blog people so they can promote it to the correlating blog, give it to the other team members that promote the different social channels. So they also have it for different promotions that they can use as options. I was like, after that, I don't give a shit what you do. I don't care if you go work out with the trainer. I don't care if you're sitting around playing pinball all day or arcade or pool or I don't care. I don't care if you leave. I don't care. I solely care about the outcome.
Yeah.
And then everything changes. Everything's all of a sudden, the person realizes they're judged off of a result, which is what you need to understand as well. As an employer, you usually try to maximize the time and effort of each role, like try to get them to be butt in seat for an extended period of time. I don't. I look at it like I exclusively give a shit about the results and outcomes of your position, and that's it. I don't care about the other stuff. So A player culture, that specific set of expectations with result-driven outcomes, and I teach them what I just described to you. Like on Fridays, I come in here towards the like middle-ish or end of the day, give or take like what my schedule is. I sit everybody down at these couches that you see here and then chairs like these. And I just present them staff training where I just go through how I want them to think. It's not like collectively I can teach each person some individual skill for their role. I literally just teach them collectively how I want them to think. You understand that?
Yep.
So that's it. When you run it like this, how you're running it now, realistically what you're doing is the opposite, where you're seeing things that you think need done and you're hiring for those things instead of questioning why those things may be coming up at all or how they could be more efficiently executed. As an example, I could have a fleet of CSMs. Okay, I could, but I wouldn't because I chose with the efficiency layer factored in. This is how I created Jeremy AI. I look at myself when I make moments like these, like you and I are in real life right now, like here we are, right? To everybody that's watching us, this is digital Jonathan and digital Jeremy. It's like we captured a moment of us in time that's providing value to people at a later time while real Jeremy and real Jonathan go do something else.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I have many different digital Jeremys right now that I look at like an army of digital Jeremys that are helping people who haven't paid, who have paid, helping people at completely different levels based on what they paid and what they paid for. And you got Jeremy AI on top of that. People right now, while we are sitting here doing this, and while, again, eventually, while you're watching this, real Jeremy's off doing who knows what else, could be talking to Jeremy AI, getting questions that they need answered in real time with, and again, I'm shocked at this to be clear, 95% of what I get as responses from my own AI is literally exactly what I would say to somebody. Wow. It's awesome. But again, the point I'm trying to make is very clear. That is digital leverage is what that's called. Mm-hmm. You understand? Yep. So I could hire a fleet of CSMs, which if you think about it, would have a watered down effect of what people actually want when they spend money with me. What do people actually want when they spend money with me? They want access to me. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So as a result of that, I need to find ways to scale me.
Yeah.
You understand? So in these different roles that you're currently hiring for, you're not questioning how you could still get the same outcome in a more efficient way. Back to the rocket engine logic. You understand? Whereas all Elon does, there's actually a great video. It's one of my favorite videos I've ever watched from Elon. He's walking around Starbase. It's like a 3-hour-long video, dude. He's walking around on Starbase with some nerd YouTuber who's like really into rockets. And the nerd YouTuber is like the best guy to be walking around with Elon, dude. He's like genuinely curious about every single thing happening at Starbase. And he's provoking Elon to answer things in the greatest way possible. And at one point in this specific like 3-hour-long tour of Starbase and this guy answering like rocket science questions, Elon peppers in there, he goes, most people really don't consider like what you need to do in the process of creation. He goes, the very first step is what most people do last, is they question what doesn't need to be a part of built last. He goes, I question that first. So like, as an example, in the context of rocket engines, he's like, what makes up a rocket engine right now that we know? What clearly just doesn't need to be there? Like, what doesn't make sense? What could we question right off the bat? And that's like his version of a prompt to his engineers and rocket scientists and mathematicians and simulators and all that. And all he does is just immediately question from the very jump of the decision, how should it be and what should not be there? You're likely doing shit right now in your operation that if you cut it out, nobody would give a fuck.
Yeah. Like
not a single customer would care. And you'd be shocked about what they might care about and what they might not care about. So asking the current people, like, do you care about this? I had a guy as an example in the 2016 to 2017 operation. His job was graphic design and he was specifically optimizing the most random shit. Like as an example, let's say that we put thumbnails on course videos. And then and let's say that there were 1,000 course videos. That's 1,000 thumbnails. And this is before AI can make these images. This is a person's job. And then I ask my customers who are buying those courses, I'm like, do you give a shit there's thumbnails? They're like, no. Bam. Completely unnecessary payroll position that I was hiring just to attempt to make the product quality better that nobody actually ever gave a shit about.
Wow.
You understand?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the point of what I'm trying to make to you. Okay, at $200K a month, 4.8 and a 6 ROAS in your 2 different funnels, not spending more money realistically because of the client narrative that you've told yourself up to this point, even though you've overcome it and can absolutely spend more since. Now you're equipped with the scaling trough logic and a weird frequency that you've chosen to run at of every other week instead of weekly. Now you should go home and do it weekly, if not more than once a week, twice a week, to cold audiences specifically. You will go home just with this alone and you will absolutely break the revenue ceiling of what you've historically hit of that 260 a month.
Yeah.
If you can continue to spend through it and hold at whatever ROAS becomes the new floor, and then scale past the point where it mathematically makes sense to be at that new floor of the ROAS to get some serious spend off. There's honestly not much else I'd encourage that you dig into. I mean, to be fair, you could definitely talk about your back end and your ascension rate and what else you could sell to people. But I don't think that should be your focal point right now. And I've become hesitant, to be fair, of going through like every single thing I could otherwise go through when I do these things.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like I overwhelm people with too much stuff, and then I feel like they go home and they kind of pick and choose between the things that they might want to do, versus that's not what I actually want. I want people to go home and do the things that actually have like the highest impact on their organization. That way you go represent, because you and I just sat down and I staked my reputation on you going home and actually making more money, just so we're clear. So if you don't go home and you don't actually have some serious impact, you make me look like shit. So I don't really want to go through other stuff. However, just to be fair to you, did you come with anything else you want to specifically talk about?
Well, no, I think you hit on a lot of the good points. Like, I spent some time building out this database where we could ping it with AI. Obviously, it's a nice to have, but it's not a revenue generating activity.
Yeah, you're just doing random shit.
Yeah, it's random shit, tending to employees, oh, this SOP is not complete, and then it's just like little niggly stuff.
Can I give you an example of what I did today? I walked in my office today, and like right away, all those people over there, they all have their own individual shit they want to talk to me about. I immediately walked in, and I just came right over to this exact area that we're standing in. And I said, okay, let's start filming the first video, because that's the most revenue-driven thing I could do in that specific moment. Then after I filmed that first video, and it's like lunchtime, right? And there's opportunities to go and talk to everybody individually while they're all collectively sitting at the table at once. I just go around the table, I'm like, do you need anything from me? Do you need anything from me? What do you want to talk about? And I tell them what I need from them. Again, it's an efficient way to be able to do the same thing in comparison to all them just pulling me in different directions as soon as I walk in. I don't give a shit or a fuck what my staff wants from me. When I walk in, I'm there to do whatever I need to do.
Yeah.
That's the most revenue-driven thing to do, that I've determined is the most revenue-driven thing to do. If there's something specifically, and they know this, which your people should know it too, that triumphs whatever I'm there to do and has a higher probability to make more money than whatever I'm there to do, bring it to me immediately and tell me it's a code red problem and just justify why. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Other than that, just focus on the outcomes that you're after and talk to me about whatever you need help on in the meantime when I have time to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty cut and dry. Like we need to just ramp these ads, and that will be the domino that topples everything else. It'll expose weakness in the team. It'll expose where we need to upgrade, some people, or we need to, upgrade systems maybe, but like at the end of the day, the revenue, every time we've scaled, it's enabled things, it's opened doors for us. So I think that's just the bottom line. The webinar and the book a call just...
it's a pretty simple process here, okay? This is literally all it is. You're gonna scale the total volume of calls and fill the closers' calendars. And then you need to hire more closers. And then you go fill the closers' calendars up again. And then you go hire more closers. You are currently stuck on filling the closers' calendars.
Yeah.
Okay? And as soon as you do that, you go hire more closers.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you do that, you swing back over to filling up their calendars. The speed in which that you swing between these two different sides, literally the only problems in the business. Every single problem you encounter is literally just a sub-problem of one of those two areas. Can you see that?
Yep.
Every single thing. It's like if you encounter some specific problem with the webinar or the call funnel, it falls on the side of failing to fill the closers' calendars. There's a bunch of sub-problems that can happen in between these two things, but they're all categorically underneath one of those two things. Do you understand? You, for 3.5 years, are going like this, whereas some people, like a bicycle,
Yeah.
back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You understand?
Yeah.
You go home, you pedal faster.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly it.
Okay, you want to tell us what you're going to go home and do?
Well, definitely going to close the cycle between scaling and filling calendars and hiring reps. That's it's almost like a product development life cycle, like scale, fill calendars, hire reps, scale, etc. So that's definitely first priority. And I was going to, shift some of, what we're selling, because it's a lot less work on the back end to sell our done with you, which actually I'm curious your input on that, because the done for you, like we used to have a guarantee and people would, they would conflate it to be something that it wasn't. Like, for example, 10,000 users, and they'd be like, oh, I thought it was 10,000 paid customers. We make it super clear that it's not, but they would just use that as a reason to either do like a chargeback or bitch or ask for free services or whatever.
Expectations equal success. The very first time that ever comes up, I'll give you a perfect example. Last night I came in here, it was 9:30 p.m. I filmed one video. The one video that I filmed was for Jeremy AI. I had one person that inspired me to go film this particular video. It was a person who joined in and they said, I think the response time was a little slower than I expected. And I said, hey, I just want to understand your expectation. Like, how fast are you expecting it to respond? And it was like, well, after I enter a prompt, I don't know, I just expected like an immediate response. And I was like, if you don't mind, I want to explain something to you, how this works, okay? First of all, I'm not a multi-$100 billion AI lab. Like this is all custom infrastructure that we built out here, and it's an awesome product and it does a really great job. But to be clear, here's how it works on a technical level. You prompt it, first thing it has to do is a knowledge-based call through a RAG system, where it goes and just searches through every single thing that it's trained on, which is a lot of shit. Then, because it's agentic, it has to do what's called a tool call, which let's use the example, you have an ad account connected, a CRM connected, and a reporting mechanism connected. Let's just say you have 3 things connected to it. Use the example of that, beyond those tools that you already connected to it, maybe it needs to go do like a web search because you've entered a website or something. Your prompt might have 8 different tools that it may need to call before it then formulates the response after. So it goes knowledge base, tool call, response. I was like, based on how many tools it needs to call and based on how much knowledge it needs for the actual response that it's going to formulate to you, it could be like a couple minutes before you get a response. And then right away, the guy was like, oh, no, that's totally fine. Like, thanks for setting the expectation.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. But prior to that, he wanted to churn because of an expectation issue. Why would I possibly need more people to tell me that before I go and film a video sent for everybody who buys from there forward?
No, do it.
Okay, why do you do that? In your specific example, hey, somebody joined in, they thought it was 10,000 paying customers instead of just 10,000 users. There was a guy, I spoke at a mastermind in, I want to say like 2022 or 2023. He's one of my friends named Ulysses. He's out in Washington. He runs a PR firm. And Ulysses presented to the group what he called a one-page expectation sheet in his contract. And it was just plain English, not legalese. You have to initial next to each thing. And it just says, this is the expectation of this, like this is the expectation of this. Like yours would be, these are 10,000 users, which is defined to be non-paying people who have simply downloaded the app and logged in once, right? Initial next to it, right? You acknowledge that, to be clearer, these 10,000 users are not going to even transact with you. They're just, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like just a simple one page with actual expectations that the person signs redefines the entire sales process from that point forward and completely terraforms the entire relationship you have with everybody immediately because expectations equal success. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's like, after one specific example that happened midday yesterday, after my entire day concluded, I was like, I need to go to the office real quick and I need to film this particular video. That video needs edited and it's going to get sent out to everybody literally today. And it's going to be in the very first email that goes out to everybody once they buy. The salespeople are already aware of that as well. So when they sell it, they set the proper expectations. All sales calls are transcribed and audited by an AI sales manager that makes sure that they cover those expectations. And if there was ever a margin of error in the salespeople setting those expectations in the call, I would immediately implement what I just talked about, that one page that Ulysses recommended as an example. Right? If I ever got a singular chargeback on Jeremy AI at the $1,000 a month, every single person from that point forward is signing a payment authorization form to avoid ever receiving a chargeback again. Do you understand?
That's crystal clear, yes.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's great. So I want to ask you 2 more quick questions if you could.
Good.
Because we make more margin on the Done With You program, it's partly because like they want a magic wand, somebody to save the day with the Done For You, whereas the Done With You program, they're in the driver's seat. And we find that leads to a lot better expectations management, and we're still helping them grow through the ads. We can still hit their targets, So I would like to shift from being like 50-50 to be more in the Done With You program. Because
Make more money.
Get me weekly.
If you made way more money than you make right now, you wouldn't give a fuck to tell somebody no if they're the wrong person for a Done For You deal.
That's a great point.
That's it. You right now, you need their money, and that's why you still close the wrong people on Done For You.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. Versus,
well
I don't care at all what you may think you need to buy. You will show up. We will assess who you are, where you're at, and what we have that's actually best for you, and we will encourage you to do that. We don't care if you want to be a Done For You client. If we don't want to take you on as a client, we're going to say no. We're going to sell you what you actually need, and it doesn't impact us in a negative way if no deal happens. Of course we want your money. We love money. We have signs in my office that say get richer on it. We don't virtue signal about how much we love money around here. We love getting paid.
Yeah.
But we don't care because it doesn't ruin our lives or business if we walk away from a deal that just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
For you, that's not the case. You have to take a lot of these deals that you take right now, and you're not willing to tell them what they actually need on a sales call because of your current financial condition.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, well said. So second question, we started out with a guarantee. It helped us get super good CPL and close rate and things like that. Now it's time to retire. We ran a split test, me and Hans here, and we ran pain-based messaging instead of outcome-based messaging.
Nice.
And CPL went down.
Nice.
Thank you. So we're going to shift our funnel to be a lot more about like
people who actually need it.
Yeah, and digging in, twisting the knife, So get your green stamp on that because it's a big shift. It's a new funnel launch. We're about to we'll launch it probably later this week, early next week. And so I think that if we combine that will help not only manage expectations. You're right though. The sales team is just cut and dry. This is the fucking checklist, and if you don't like it, you don't work with us.
Yeah, it's just an expectations alignment. That's all it is. So yeah, everything we've sat here and talked about makes total sense for you to go home and do. What you're saying, makes total sense. I'd for sure do it. The long and the short, I want you to recap this. You go home and you scale the call funnel capacity just off that alone. You need more closers.
Yep.
Okay. How long does it take to hire a closer and get them onboarded?
I have like 5 people in my inbox who are like solid ass closers, and I can have them on calls in 2 weeks. We have a whole training system.
Good time frame. So if that's the case, fill the current capacity, get close to it, start the hiring process so you're not just sidelined for 2 weeks. And then I'd get the webinar routine scheduled in, and
that's the other thing.
I would just perpetuate it on a weekly or twice a week basis from that point forward. And then, if and when you're ready, circle back with me and let me know. I'm sure everything that we just talked about will work great for you, but you're ready to kick it up to the next level. I'm here and happy to help you.
That's it, yeah.
In the meantime, just action what we just talked about and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think, scale, reveal the leaks, have the team fix them, we fix them, and then that cultural issues that will bring out the performance issues of which team members are not pulling their weight or are not producing the outcomes, and it all starts from there.
Anything else?
No, man, I really appreciate your time. This has been awesome, Jeremy.
Of course, appreciate it, Jonathan. All right, thank you for being here as well, and thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Check out those links down in the description for the real juicy stuff, and of course, go watch some of the other videos on the channel. Most importantly, go get richer. Talk soon.